A summoner has disconnected. A summoner has reconnected.
The stars were the question.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
How come no one ever tells me to reload?
30 seconds until minions spawn.
You're dead weight. Get a haircut. Trust me. Keep the change. You're gonna need it.
I answered for my crimes. Now it's your turn. I am no
Minions
longer
have
the man
spawned.
I once was. The best weapons are beautiful.
A summoner has disconnected. A summoner has reconnected.
Something bigger than this gun? The mistake
True
you
gems
made standing
sparkle
in its
even in
sight.
the absence of
A summoner has disconnected. A summoner has reconnected.
just as the mountain is eternal, so is hope. Love is simply beauty crystallized. Elegance never helped win a fight, but it never hurt.
First blood.
The Protector speaks through me. We see beauty in the stars, and they see beauty in us.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
The mountain reveals the harshest truths in our souls. Demacia was my home, but the stars are my destination. We're all headed
Ally has been slain.
to the land. No need to rush. Up the mountain we go. The mountain
Ally has been slain. slain. You have slain an enemy.
Stand against them.
You have been slain.
No rest for the chosen of Targon. Money well spent. I may be merciful, but Targon isn't. To truly see the stars, I climbed. The stars freed me from myself. Sometimes, life is worth dying.
An ally has been slain.
The mountain's question is unique for each of us.
Together.
Why is it always the ugly?
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Fight too clearly to ever fear the darkness. Let's climb that mountain, shall we? A fine addition.
Timo, are these mushrooms your rations or your amp?
The mountain's mysteries are known to me. Human life is fleeting. The mountain's life less so. Stars. Stars are eternal. Mind your step. The mountain showed me my path. Easy on the eyes, don't I know?
Enemy killing spree.
didn't see stars.
The one driver drops off the other that then drives you home
Each line
Oh, yeah.
in their car, in your car.
Yeah.
So that you can, I mean, I think a lot of people would pay $50. It's going to be more than a regular Uber.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's going to be done. I got the money. I already spent $60
Yep.
at the bar tonight. Like, just get the damn thing done.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow I'm done with it. My car, I wake up, my car's in front of my house.
Yeah.
I
give
think
it
that would
free
be,
to
I think
all.
someone could, I'm not going to open that business. So like, if anyone hears this and wants to take off with that, like, I think it could help a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. And Uber itself, I would say, helped a huge amount of people. Just making it easy to make the decision of going home, not driving yourself.
The stars
I read
were
about
the
in
question.
Austin where they, I don't know where it's at now, but where they outlawed Uber for a while, you know, because of the whole taxi cab union type thing, and how just, yeah, there were like hordes of drunk people that were used to Uber that now didn't have a cheap alternative.
We didn't exactly mention, we've done a lot of studies on sexual decision making with different drugs. Is there some interesting insights or findings on the difference between the different drugs? I think you said meth as well, so cocaine. Is there some interesting characteristics about decision making that these drugs alter versus like alcohol, all those
Yeah.
kinds of things?
I think, and there's much more to study with this, but I think the biggie there is that the stimulants, they create risky sex by really increasing the rewarding value of sex. Like if you talk to people that are real, especially that are hooked on stimulants, one of the biggies is like sex on coke or meth is like so much better than sex without, and that's a big part of why they have trouble quitting, because it's so tied to their sex life.
So it's not that your decision making is broken. It's just that you allocate.
It's a different aspect of their decision. Yeah, on the reward side. I think on the alcohol, it works more through disinhibition. It's like alcohol is really good at reducing the ability of a delayed punisher to have an effect on current behavior. In other words, there's this bad thing that's going to happen tomorrow or a week from now or 20 years from now. Being drunk is a really good way, and you see this in like rats making decisions. You know, a high dose of alcohol makes someone less sensitive to those consequences. So I think that's the lever that's being hit with alcohol, and it's the increasing the rewarding value of sex by the psychostimulants on that side. We actually found that it was amazing because like hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent by NIH to study the connection between cocaine and HIV. Like we ran the first study on my grant that like actually just gave people cocaine under double-blind conditions and showed that like, yeah, when people are on coke, like their ratings of sexual desire, even though they're not in a sexual situation, yeah, you've shown them some pictures, but they're just saying they're horny. Like you get subjective ratings of like how much sexual desire you're feeling right now. People get horny when they're on stimulants. And
Do you have
a lot of people say duh if they really know these drugs.
But that's a rigorous study that's in the lab that shows like there's a plot.
Right. The dose effects of that, the time course of that. Yeah. It's not
Can
just.
you please tell me there's a paper with a plot that shows dose versus evaluation of like horniness?
Yeah, we didn't say horniness. We said sexual arousal. Yeah, basically, yeah.
There's a plot. I'm gonna find this plot.
Right. I'll send it to you. There was one headline from some publicity on the work that said, "Horny cocaine users don't use condoms," or something like that. Like,
You gotta
something
love
like that.
journalism.
Like, I wouldn't have put it that way, but like, yeah, that's
I guess that's
right
what
on.
it finds. So you.
Your turret has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain.
Not true Targonian. Still nice, though. The Protector speaks through me.
An ally has been slain.
We see beauty in the stars.
An ally has been slain.
The mountain reveals the harshest truths in our souls.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed.
My destination. I climbed Mount Targon. You did not. We're all headed toward the same inevitable end. No need to rush.
An enemy has been slain.
I may be merciful, but Targon isn't.
An enemy has been slain.
To truly see the stars, I climbed. The stars freed me from myself.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Sometimes, life is worth dying. Let's climb that mountain, shall we? Always useful. The mountain's question is unique for each of us. Why is it always the ugly? I have seen the light too clearly to ever fear the darkness.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
your beauty. Human life is fleeting. A mountain's life less so. Stars. Stars are eternal. The mountain showed me my path. A little something from Taric. Each life is a rare creature.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Published a bunch of studies on psychedelics. Is there
The stars were the
some
question.
especially favorite, insightful findings from some of these that you could talk about? Maybe favorite studies or just something that pops to mind in terms of both the goals and the major insights gained and maybe the side little curiosities that you discovered along the way.
Yeah, I think of the work with like using psilocybin to help people quit smoking. I mean, we've talked about smoking being such a serious addiction. And so that what inspired me to get into that was just kind of having like behavioral psychology as my primary lens, sort of this sort of like, you know, kind of radical empirical basis of, I'm really interested in the mystical experience and all of these reports, very interested. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, let's get down to some behavior change and something that we can record, like quantitatively verify biologically. So
find all kinds of negative behaviors that people practice and see if we can turn those into positive. Or
right,
change those
like
behaviors.
really change it, not just people saying, which again is interesting, I'm not dismissing it, but folks that would say my life has turned around, I feel this has completely changed me. It's like, yep, that's good. All right, let's see if we can harness that and test that into something that's real behavior change. You know what I mean? It's quantifiable. It's like, okay, you've been smoking for 30 years. You know, like that's a real thing. And you've tried a dozen times, like seriously to quit, and you haven't been able to long term. Like, okay. And if you quit, like we'll ask you, and I'll believe you, but I don't trust everyone reading the paper to believe you. So we're gonna have you pee in a cup, and we'll test that, and we'll have you blow into this little machine that measures carbon monoxide, and we'll test that. So multiple levels of biological verification. Like now we're getting like, to me that's where the rubber meets the road in terms of like therapeutics. It's like, can we really shift behavior? And since in so much as we've talked about, my other scientific work outside of psychedelics is about understanding addiction and drug use. So it's like, you know, looking at addiction in the brain, smoking is just a great example. And so back to your question, like we've had really high success rates. I mean, it rivals anything that's been published in the scientific literature. the caveat is that, that's based on our initial trial of only 15 people, but extremely high long-term success rates. 80% at 6 months per smoke-free.
So can we discuss the details of this? So first of all, which psychedelic are we talking about? And maybe can you talk about the 15 people and how the study ran and what you found?
Yeah. So the drug we're using is psilocybin, and we're using moderately high and high doses of psilocybin. And I should say this about most of our work. These are not kind of museum level doses. In other words, nothing even big fans of psychedelics want to take and go to a concert or go to the museum. If someone's at Burning Man on this type of dose, like, they're probably going to want to find their way back to their tent and zip up and hunker down for, not be around strangers. Yeah.
And by the way, the delivery method, so psilocybin is mushrooms, I guess. What's the usual? Is it edible? Is there some other way? Like, how are people supposed to think about the correct dosing? Because I've heard that it's hard to dose correctly.
That's right. So in our studies, we use the pure compound psilocybin. So it's a single molecule, a bunch of molecules, and we give them a capsule with that. And so it's just a little capsule they swallow. What people, when psilocybin is used outside of research, it's always in the context of mushrooms, because they're so easy to grow. There's no market for synthetic psilocybin. There's no reason for that to pop up. The high dose that we use in research is 30 milligrams, body weight adjusted. So if you're a heavier person, it might be like 40 or 50 milligrams. We have some data based on that data, we're actually moving into like getting away from the body weight adjusting of the dose and just giving an absolute dose. It seems like there's no justification for the body weight based dosing, but I digress. Generally 30, 40 milligrams, it's a high dose. And based on average, even though, as you alluded to, there's variability, which gets people into some trouble, in terms of mushrooms, like Psilocybe cubensis, which is the most common species in the illicit market in the U.S., this is about equivalent to 5 dried grams, which is right at about where McKenna and others, they call it a heroic dose. This is not hanging out with your friends, going to the concert again. So this is a real deal dose, even to people that like really, just even to psychonauts. And we've even had a number of studies.
Psychonauts.
yeah, people that, let's astronaut
That's a great
or
term.
cosmonaut, like
Psychonaut.
for psychedelics. Yeah, going as far out as possible.
But even for them, even for those who've flown to space before.
Right. They're like, holy shit, I didn't know the orbit would be that far out, or I escaped the orbit. I was in interplanetary space there.
So these folks, the 15 folks in the study, there's not a question of dose being too low to truly have an impact.
Right. Out of hundreds of volunteers over the years, we've only seen a couple of people where there was a mild effect of the 30 milligrams. And who knows, that person's, their serotonin's, they might have lesser density of serotonin 2A receptors or something. We don't know. But it's extremely rare. For most people, this is like something interesting is going to happen, if I put it that way.
Speaking of Joe Rogan, I think that Jamie, his producer, is immune to psychedelics. So maybe he's a good recruit for the study to test.
So that's interesting. Now, the caveat is I'm not encouraging anything illicit, but just theoretically, my first question as a behavioral pharmacologist is like, increase the dose. Like really?
Nobody's
Let's see the
immune.
full dose. I'm not telling him Jamie to do that, but like, okay, like, you're taking the same amount that friends might be taking, but yeah.
But he was also referring to the psychedelic effects of edible marijuana, which is there rules on dosage for like marijuana? Is there limits? Like what places where this all goes to, it probably is state by state, right?
It is, but they've gone that direction, and states that didn't initially have these rules now have them. So it's like you'll get, I think, 5 or 10 milligrams of THC being a common, and this is an important thing, like where they've moved from not being allowed to say, like, have a whole candy bar and have each of the 8 or 10 squares on the candy bar being 10 milligrams, but it's like no, the whole thing, because like someone gets a candy bar, they're eating the freaking candy bar.
Yeah.
And it's like unless you're a daily cannabis user,